All right. I would like to welcome Chairwoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Chairwoman Ros-Lehtinen immigrated from Havana, Cuba to Florida at age 7 and began her career as an elementary school teacher, which inspired her to public service. Chairwoman Ros-Lehtinen became the first Hispanic woman to serve in Congress and is a stalwart supporter of the North Korean Refugee Adoption Act and the North Korean Rights Reauthorization Act. Give a warm welcome to Chairwoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen.
Thank you very much. I am so impressed with the way that you've gotten young people to come out here. Let's give a big applause to the young people, especially from Florida. Come on a little bit closer, hoping that the average age will go down considerably. But thank you so much to KCC Executive Director Sam Kim, KCC board members, North Korean Gulag survivor Mr. Shin Dong-hyuk. Thank you. North Korean refugees, pastors from churches in Florida and throughout the United States, advocates for human rights in North Korea and around the world, ladies and gentlemen. There have been profound changes on the Korean Peninsula since I last addressed you 2 hot summers ago. One dictator in North Korea has died, only to be replaced by another, his son. And this was achieved through a strange succession process which mixes militant Marxism and medieval dynasty policy. Well, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that certainly appears to be the case in North Korea. The son has kept up the old Kim family negotiation tactic of brinksmanship. The young general first signaled that he would abide by the Leap Day Agreement to resume nuclear disarmament, and then almost immediately he reneged on his promise with another missile launch. Stylistic changes in the new regime appear to be, as they are, purely cosmetic. There are ongoing severe violations of the basic laws of humanity that are going on in both North Korea and China today. Press reports earlier this year that China had lessened its forced repatriation of North Korean refugees to be returned to torture, to imprisonment, and even execution in North Korea proved sadly mistaken. Thus, it was my honor as a former refugee myself to stand across the Chinese embassy during a visit to Seoul in May and to personally raise the issue of North Korean refugees. And I'm so glad that you stood in front of the Chinese embassy yesterday. Next time, invite me. I would be honored to be there with you. And I called on the Chinese leader Hu to let those innocent people go. And it was also my singular privilege to be the sponsor in the House of the Ambassador James R. Lilly and Congressman Steve J. Solar's North Korean Human Rights Reauthorization Act of 2012. And I named it for these 2 great statesmen who spent their last final years in Washington championing the great cause of human rights in North Korea and working to assist the North Korean refugees in China. I worked to ensure that this bill passed the House before my trip to South Korea, and it is my hope that the full Senate will soon take up this vital legislation so that it can be sent to the President for his signature as soon as possible. But you are the ones that can make that happen. I am also proud to be a co-sponsor of H.R. 1464, the North Korean Refugee Adoption Act of 2011, to ensure that the orphan North Korean children in China are not forgotten. And those are very striking posters that you have. The victimization of North Korean women, refugee women, and children in China is a massive human rights violation that has been ignored for far too long in the corridors of international power. China, despite its growing health, wealth, and military might, can never be viewed nor treated as a responsible stakeholder as long as it tolerates the starvation and abuse of children within its borders and the sexual trafficking of women. North Korean women seeking a better life, seeking religious liberty, seeking freedom for themselves and their families should never be used as property for Chinese brothels or as bartered brides to replace the girls lost by China's coercive one-child policy. The militant regime in Pyongyang, in the meantime, continues to expend its military funds on this buildup as part of the military-first policy and on gala events honoring the Kim dynasty, a dynasty of oppression. At the same time, a severe drought in North Korea's breadbasket threatens to once again create famine conditions for North Korea's long-suffering, starving people. And so, to the young general in North Korea, I say, stop building bombs and start feeding your people. Stop at once your belligerent threats directed at South Korea, its people, and our U.S. forces assigned to South Korea. The time is long overdue for a new beginning in the North Korean peninsula. The time is long overdue for the achievement of the cherished longing of the Korean people for national reunification. Through the voices raised here today, championing North Korean human rights, we can, I believe, overcome these obstacles. Through the legislation moving through the United States Congress, we can, I believe, hold the promise of a new day for the suffering people of North Korea. An old Asian proverb states that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Let us take that step forward together today. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Yes, we will.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Thank you, Florida.
Right over. Congresswoman, we have here for you a shout for around. Come on. Come on, guys. Don't be shy.
Let's say shout.
Shout. Come on over.
A little bit louder now. Shout.
Shout. Shout for freedom. Shout for freedom. Shout for freedom. And Mr. Shen.
Just my size, too.
And Congresswoman, we have a Escape from 14 book signed by
Come on over.
Shin Dong-hyuk.
Wow. Escape from Camp 14. Thank you so much. I can't wait to read this. This is going to be a hard read. Thank you so much. Thank you. You were born in one of the camps.
He was born in a prison camp for the sin of his parents belonged to brothers who fled to South Korea. That was his father's only sin. And we'll go into a story later.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, the California delegation, the 39th Congressional District, come on up.